Lucky Mlife. Lucky Mlife is the nephew to Katiso Mlife. This SK Group was awarded this tender, and then after it was awarded this tender, all we can tell it was a manipulation because of these two companies. Already Lucky Mlife is the buyer, is the one who was facilitating this process. So already Lucky Mlife knew that he's going to give it to SK because these ones were just there to make it look like, but it was not really the true reflection of the competition. There was no competition for SK. However, what makes this thing complex is that we have a company called QTech that has a relationship with Transnet for over 40 years. And it has been supplying Transnet with, they call it springs and accessories. I don't know the right word, but it's a small spring. I've seen it during the course of my investigation. That was supplied to Transnet straight from them as they are the manufacturers. However, in 2023, they were surprised because they learned now that there is this SK Group coming to them to buy the very same spring that they normally supply to the Transnet. But in this instance, it looks like the tender was awarded to SK. And their first surprise, it was, normally the tenders are advertised, and this one, it was never advertised. They were surprised to see that there was actually a tender by this SK coming to them to buy these springs. But it gets worse because now they sell these springs with legal like 395, but nothing more than 4 rand each. However, the SK Group, when they submitted their purchase order to them, they were shocked to see they selling the very same spring that worth 395 to Transnet on the price of 151 rand. And then when the inspector to inspect the springs before they were released, they raised a concern to say, how are you aware, Transnet, that you're buying something that worth less than 4 rand with 151 rand? And then the inspector said, no, we're not aware, but I'm going to escalate to the managers, of which, according to the inspector, he didn't. But eventually, like, he got to know about the grief of the QTech. That's where the problem started now, because suddenly there was a new purchase order with now an amended price that was now 5 rand 10 cents. That was sent to QTech now. Now they've got 2 different prices with 2 purchase orders. Seeing what they've seen, they've decided now to report this matter. There's a whistleblower from the company that decided to report to the Department of Enterprise. And then that's where everything started. Then the department tasked the Transnet to have an investigation. Then investigation ensued. And then eventually, like, he was requested to finish the processes of the tender that was awarded to SK, of which he delayed. He delayed up until the 12th of April. That's where everything started to connect the dots to our case now, because the investigating officer from Transnet, he then now confronted him to say, I need those those processes papers. So, and then we see something happening now in this case. Exactly on the 12th, we see Tau driving to Katiso Mlife's house according to the data. And then also the tracker, the vehicle tracker. And then they both drive to QTech for the first time. They go scout there.
Witness B,
And that scout.
before you move on to that portion, perhaps to just point out to the commissioners that the scheme is described at paragraph 36.3 until, 26.3 till 26.5. Witness
Do we have that graph that was displayed
we can make it available.
so that we can insert it into our files?
Certainly.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Khumalo. Witness B, if you can then start at paragraph 26.6. This is now where you deal with the relationship between Mr. Lucky Molefe and Katiso Molefe and his, I guess, the request for assistance in this regard once the scheme was discovered.
Yes. This is now, as I've said, that on the top, that's when now the investigating officer from Transnet requested those documents from Lucky. And then okay, maybe
Just to assist you, Witness B, this is where you start to deal with the communication and information from the cell phones, which shows you the communication between Mr. Molefe, Lucky Molefe, and Mr. Katiso Molefe, as well as Mr. Puletau.
the communication, it's mostly between Mr. Mlive and Tau, and then we then see them meeting like personally on the for the first time on the 12th. After like we learned that he was requested to bring the papers, but instead of like bringing the papers, we see action happening between Tau and Mlive. When they start now going to the very same QTech to scout. And that you could see that from a data that Tau drove to Katiso's place, and then they were together picking up at the same tower at Katiso's place. Shortly, they didn't even take some time. Shortly, they both seen driving together to Vereeniging at QTech. And then from there, they go back to Katiso's house. Then Tau goes his way.
And does the scouting only happen on the 12th of April?
That was the beginning. That was the beginning of it. That's why I'm saying it was triggered by the investigating officer requesting these papers. Now it seemed to be urgent. Something needed to be done urgently. Otherwise, there was going to be problems. Because from the 12th, there was a scouting. The 13th, there was a scouting. The 14th, there was a scouting. The 15th, there was a scouting. The 16th, there was a scouting. Subsequently, Armand was killed on the 17th. But there's things that happened in between. We see Katiso sending a name and a number of the intended, supposedly they thought it was a whistleblower, but let me just say of the employee from the QTech, he sent it to Dow. Dow started sharing this with her girlfriend named Lerato, asking her to search and find who is that person, of which Lerato indeed she searched until she find the intended target with his boss, and she sent it back to them, to Dow, not let me not send it to them, send it back to Dow, send it back to Katiso, and they agreed that